My nutrition. The reason for that is obviously in previous episodes we've focused more on my Olympia training and a lot of you have been asking what I consume on my Olympia prep through nutrition. So here is basically everything I take on a day-to-day basis, and I'm going to run quickly through everything and why. So the first meal of the day is post 1 hour fasted cardio session, and that is my oatmeal or oats. I'm normally on 100 grams of oats, which is around 60 grams of carbs. I add 20 grams of flaked almonds for my essential fat. I've got 30 grams of blueberries, fresh blueberries, which is for antioxidants and obviously a few more carbs. And then I've got the USN Blue Lab Whey, which is a whey protein, high in protein, low in carbs. Around 35 to 40 grams per serving is which I take. We then move on 2.5 hours later to 4 eggs, which I then consume rice and my mixed vegetables. So my go-to vegetable is asparagus, but you can have broccoli or spinach, things like that. For me personally, I don't count them as carbs. A lot of you guys do, which is fine, but for me I only really count my complex carbs. We then move on to my third meal of the day, which is again 2.5 hours later, and this could be my pre-workout meal. So what I tend to do, I go for a fast-acting protein, a lean fast-acting protein, which is around chicken breast rather than salmon or steak. I go for 200 grams, which is around the 50 grams of protein mark, and I'll go for a fast-acting complex carb white rice. On average, I would normally go for about 150 grams of rice, and again mixed vegetables, so that can be broccoli, spinach, asparagus, anything green. So that'll be my pre-workout meal. Before I train, I go for the BCA Amino Grow. That's 2 scoops before, which is 10 grams of BCAs. And then I will go on to 2 scoops again whilst I'm training. So pre and intra, I'll consume that. And then post-workout, again, I'll go for the USN Blue Lab Whey with a liquid carb. My go-to is Vitago, but you can use multidextrin, waxy maize, anything like that, which is slightly cheaper. So as we go on into the evening, obviously it's getting later now, my next meal, because it's post-workout, again, I still want a fast-acting protein. I'll still go for a chicken breast or a turkey breast, around the 200 grams, which is 50 grams of protein, with white rice also. So all my white rice is consumed earlier on in the day. That's just personal preference, and it's something I enjoy around my training, fast-acting carb source. And then my 5th meal of the day will be then going on to a steak, 150 grams of steak with white potato. So around, what are we on now? It depends obviously where I'm at on my prep, but my carb sources will reduce as I go on throughout my prep. So they start very high and then they'll taper down as I get closer to the show. The last meal of the day is salmon, 150 grams of salmon with sweet potato. So we're going for a lower GI carb, slower releasing, because I'm not in need of fast-acting carbs as I'm going into the evening and as I'm preparing to go to bed and rest. I like those carb and protein sources before bed. Again, vegetables for me can be anything green. I like to mix it up, go for a bit of salad or asparagus again. So as you can imagine, Amy loves me when I go to the toilet with a lot of asparagus in my diet. So supplements and things I also take which are not solid food is green tea and peppermint tea. So I've got my green tea here, which doesn't look very appetizing, I must admit. But what I do is I tend to go for 6 to 8 tea bags, and I soak them overnight so they're well soaked in. I'll add my BCA aminos in and just sip it through the day, and it's a good antioxidant, and it helps with fat loss and just making the body work more efficiently. And my peppermint, I will have 2 to 3 cups of that a day hot. So my green tea will be cold, peppermint hot. No reason for that, just that I enjoy it that way, and that's how I get into my routine. So in previous preps, if any of you have followed me, I used to have quite bad digestion problems due to an illness I got back in 2014. So I have to be very careful with what I consume and be very mindful of my gut. So first thing in the morning, it's something I've implemented into this prep and it has been phenomenal, and it's just helping with digestion, is apple cider vinegar and lemon juice, organic lemon juice. And for me, that's been a great help for setting my gut system up, balancing my pH levels out, my acidic and alkaline levels, ready for consuming all this food. Because as you can imagine, it's quite taxing to have 6 big meals when you're dieting. So in past, and if you follow like old school bodybuilders, a lot of them used to struggle with that. So that is something I've been very mindful. I take probiotics, prebiotics, multivitamins, and like I say, first thing in the morning, although it's not great and it's very sharp, but it's definitely helped with my gut digestion.
Ryan, can you tell me why you cook your meals in such a big batch, because the Tupperware is quite huge?
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to go back to basics on this prep. Obviously I've got a lot to prove to myself, and I don't know, moving back from America last year, and I feel I got a bit lazy, I think, over preps, where my food was being prepped for me, and it became not easy, but it just became, I don't know, I wanted to go back to basics, and I started bodybuilding by cooking all my meals, prepping all my meals, knowing exactly what I'm consuming, knowing where it's come from. And for me, it is a lot of time and effort, but I do feel 100 times better, and I enjoy the food I'm eating because I'm making it exactly how I want. So on a Sunday evening, and typically Wednesday or Thursday depending, I cook in mass. Me and Amy get in the kitchen and we cook in mass. So I'm outside on the grill, the barbecue, getting 20 chicken breasts cooked off, 10 fillets, 10 salmon fillets, and we do it all in one big go. And it doesn't look appetizing here, but it's really nice. It's flavored how we want. Tray of white potato, pan of rice, tray of sweet potato, tray of asparagus, which we grill, and it's just simple that way. It's one lots of pots, and one lots of washing up and clearing up. So it's just easier for me that way. I do feel 100 times better prepping my food.
Do you have a preference over white rice than brown rice?
White rice for me, I've always consumed out of all my preps. And one, I enjoy it better, and two, I've never struggled to digest white rice. People tend to go obviously onto brown rice because it's better digesting and it's easier on the gut system. But for me, white rice is my go-to, and it always has been. So there's no benefits for me personally for having white over brown. It's just personal preference. This prep has been different in the fact that I have always prepped over 5 meals, 5 consumptions in the day, whereas this meal prep has been over 6. So already we've got an influx of food, and normally what I would do is I'd have less fats in my diet. So my calories have been a lot higher on this prep, and the reason for that is through more essential fats and an extra protein source. So typically on previous preps, I would have 2 days salmon, 1 day steak, 2 days salmon, 1 day steak. Whereas this prep, the whole way through, I've had steak and salmon every single day. So you can imagine the calories are up, which is good for me. And I have lost weight on it, and I've stayed fuller, stayed stronger. So that I feel has been a great input on this prep. Regards to timings, everything has relatively stayed the same because yes, I'm working with a new coach and we have got different outlooks and we have approached things differently. It still is the same basis. Like, why try and change something what's not broken? My white rice and my white potato, high GI carbs, are in the day, and I eat my oats as well first thing in the morning, and my sweet potato is great in the evening for the slow digestion. So I don't feel like I would want to change that anyway. My body is used to that type of schedule, and it has always worked for me. Yes, I'm not the biggest guy on stage, but I've always focused on condition and trying to bring my best package.
Sometimes it appears that we're reaching a period when our senses and our minds will no longer respond to moderate stimulation.